Welcome to this massive Super Mario 64 and Super Mario 64 DS Iceberg. You already know how icebergs work. It's a chart with the most known topics at the top and the most obscure and weird ones at the bottom. This is truly one of the most fleshed out Mario 64 and Mario in general icebergs that I've ever seen. The main thing that actually captured my attention with this iceberg was this disclaimer at the top saying that there were no personalization topics, and if there were I would have skipped them anyways, but yeah. I'm not doing that again. And there's also no sources from the MIPS whole wiki, and if you know, you know. This is a good thing overall, so I just want to get into it. I know there's like 10,000 Super Mario 64 icebergs on YouTube already. I mean, this whole trend started with a Super Mario 64 iceberg, but I thought I could put my own little spin to this with this 150 entry iceberg. Anyways, without further ado, get a drink, get a snack, relax, and enjoy the video. Let's get into it. I'm gonna breeze through these first two tiers. It's just very superficial and somewhat interesting information, but you probably already know if you're watching this video. Shigeru Miyamoto. Shigeru Miyamoto is the legendary game designer at Nintendo and the creator of Super Mario 64, which would also make him the creator of Super Mario 64 DS, considering that's a remake of Super Mario 64, we'll get into that later. He's the visionary behind many of Nintendo's greatest franchises like The Legend of Zelda and Donkey Kong. For Mario 64, he oversaw the transition from 2D to 3D gaming. He's really seen it all. Lackey 2 is the cameraman. In Super Mario 64, the in-game camera is explained as being controlled by Lackey 2, the, turtle-like character who flies around in a cloud. If you look closely at Mario's shadow in game, you can even see Lackey 2's shadow following him, holding the camera. This clever design gives an in-universe explanation for how the camera works, and was pretty groundbreaking at the time. I mean, just look at the intro for the game. BLJ. The backwards lung jump, or BLJ, is one of the most famous glitches in Super Mario 64. By lung jumping backwards on stairs or slopes and repeatedly mashing the jump button, Mario's speed multiplies endlessly. This glitch allows players to skip locked doors, bypass the endless staircase, and complete the game in record time. It's a staple trick in speedrunning. Real2401. This is one of the entries that I already covered in my other Super Mario Iceberg video. Basically, a mysterious inscription on a statue in the castle courtyard supposedly says Real2401, or at least that's what the fans interpret it as. This led to endless rumors that Luigi was hidden in the game, and players tried all kinds of methods to unlock him. While Luigi isn't in the original game, the Super Mario 64 DS remake did officially add him as a playable character, so yeah. Also, a beta model of Luigi was actually found back in 2020, so he was going to be in the original game, I guess, so that's pretty cool. The Endless Staircase. One of the game's most memorable features is the Endless Staircase, which appears if you try to access Bowser's final level without collecting 70 stars. The staircase seems to go on forever, with eerie music that adds to the mystery. What's interesting is it's actually an illusion, and with tricks like the BLJ, players can bypass the star requirement and reach the final Bowser fight early. Baby Penguin Murder. In the Cool Mountain level, players must return a baby penguin to its mother to earn a star. However, the baby penguin can also be picked up and thrown off the mountain. A terrible act that has become kind of a meme among fans. ROM hacking. ROM hacking is when fans modify the game's code to create new levels, challenges, or entirely custom experiences. Super Mario 64 has one of the largest ROM hacking communities, producing popular fan-made projects like Super Mario Star Road. These extend the game's lifespan by introducing fresh content. There's also been some scary ROM hacks or whatever, we'll get into that later. SMG4. SMG4 is a classic YouTuber who uses Super Mario 64 assets and characters to create, I guess, funny, chaotic animations and parodies. That's pretty much it. His channel helped popularize Super Mario 64 Machinima, which are fan-made videos using game footage. His old content used to be way funnier, by the way. 120 star maximum. The maximum number of power stars you can collect in the game is 120. Collecting all of them rewards players with access to the cannon in the castle courtyard, allowing Mario to shoot himself to the roof. Up there, you can meet Yoshi, who gives you 100 extra lives and a special triple jump animation as a reward for your hard work. Speedrunning. Super Mario 64 is one of the most popular games for speedrunning, where players try to complete the game as quickly as possible. The game's precise controls, open world design, and exploitable glitches make it perfect for speedrunning. Different categories exist, from glitch-heavy runs like the 0-star category to 120-star runs where players collect everything. A tool-assisted speedrun, or TAS, uses emulators and programming tools to create quote-unquote perfect gameplay runs. By controlling Mario with frame-perfect precision, TAS runners can pull off tricks and glitches that are nearly impossible for humans. Emulators. Emulators are programs that mimic the hardware of consoles like the Nintendo 64, allowing Super Mario 64 to be played on computers or other devices. This has made the game accessible to fans who don't own the original console, but it's also led to debates about the legality of emulating games. I think most people agree that emulation is fine, but there's always those people that, ROMs. A ROM is a digital copy of a game's data, often used with emulators. Super Mario 64 ROMs are widely available online, but downloading them without owning the original cartridge is technically illegal. ROMs also serve as the foundation for mods and hacks, letting fans expand on the original game. Analog stick. Super Mario 64 was one of the first games to fully utilize an analog stick, a major innovation introduced with the Nintendo 64 controller. The stick allowed for more precise control, letting Mario walk, run, or tiptoe depending on how far the stick was pushed. This precise movement was a big reason why Mario 64's platforming felt so revolutionary, as it gave players full control in a 3D environment for the first time. Mishkaz. Mishkaz is just a creator of the original Super Mario 64 Iceberg video that blew up and birthed many YouTube channels like mine, for example. So thank you, Mishkaz. Also, it's just a really well-made video. I usually go back to it just to watch Peak. ABC. The A button challenge in Super Mario 64 is a unique challenge where players attempt to complete as much of the game as possible while pressing the A button, used for jumping, as few times as possible. Since jumping is a core mechanic, the challenge requires extreme creativity and the use of precise movement techniques and glitches to progress. This has made it one of the most complex and technical challenges in the game's community. Players have found ways to bypass obstacles without jumping by using advanced strategies such as the BLJ and object manipulation. A key concept introduced in this challenge is the half A press, where the A button is held across multiple sections rather than being pressed again, allowing players to reduce the total number of inputs. The challenge has been pushed so far that the game can be beaten with 0 A presses in the Wii Virtual Console version using glitches, while the 120-star run has been optimized to require just 13 A presses in the Japanese version. The ABC gained popularity primarily through the work of YouTuber PanCoec2012, who released detailed videos analyzing and breaking down the game's mechanics. His work showcased how deeply the game's physics could be manipulated and inspired a wave of glitch hunting and technical exploration within the community. The challenge has since become legendary for its technical depth, pushing the limits of how a platform can be completed without relying on its most basic action, jumping. 8-way direction. Super Mario 64 DS has 8-way direction as opposed to Super Mario 64's analog movement, resulting from the fact that they couldn't fit the joystick while still maintaining the quote-unquote foldability. This 8-way direction is the main cause for its insane hate online, and people hating on Super Mario 64 DS for its movement. That is pretty common nowadays. It's Space World 95. In 1995, Nintendo presented an early version of Super Mario 64 at Space World in Japan, a showcase that previewed the Nintendo 64's capabilities. This demo, known as the Space World 95 demo, featured many elements that were later altered or removed entirely in the final game. Notable aspects included a different HUD, a clock-based health UI, and the mini-map feature, providing early insights into the game's design. The demo also displayed unique level layouts and Mario's movements that were significantly different from the finished product. While the Space World 95 demo played a crucial role in demonstrating the innovative 3D gameplay of Super Mario 64, it remains largely lost to the public, with no available ROMs. It's primarily known through promotional videos and eyewitness accounts from the event. The demo has become a point of interest for video game historians and enthusiasts, especially following the 2020 Giga Leak, which revealed some of the demo's assets and further illuminated its features and development. Project 64. Project 64 is one of the most popular Nintendo 64 emulators. It allows players to run Super Mario 64 on modern devices, play ROM hacks, or modify the game. It's a cornerstone of the emulator and ROM community. Pan Coic 2012. Scott Buchanan, better known as Pan Coic 2012, is a YouTube creator famous for his highly technical videos of Super Mario 64. Since 2010, he has been exploring the game's mechanics with a particular focus on completing it with minimal use of the A button, which is essential for jumping. His A button challenge videos, where he minimizes or eliminates jumping, have drawn significant attention and admiration from the gaming community. Pan Coic 2012 rose to prominence in 2014 when he collected an uncollectible coin in Super Mario 64, showcasing his deep understanding of the game's mechanic. He later offered a $1,000 bounty to replicate a rare upward glitch, demonstrating his commitment to uncovering the game's deepest secrets. His content, which ranges from specific challenges to detailed mechanical explanations, often attracts hundreds of thousands of views, highlighting the community's interest in the technical aspects of gaming. His most popular video explains how to complete the Watch for Rolling Rocks level with half an A press, a strategy that involves starting the level with the A button already held down. This video and others underscore his role as a pioneer in the field of game mechanic exploration, making him a respected figure in the world of gaming. Also, I already mentioned it, but some of his videos also get a huge amount of views. Multiplayer. This might be referring to that in Super Mario 64 DS, there is a way to play multiplayer in a level where you fight to get the most stars in a limited time. Yeah, there is multiplayer in Super Mario 64. Game Shark. The Game Shark was a cheat device for the Nintendo 64. Players could use it to enable hacks and cheats in Super Mario 64, such as infinite lives, accessing unused content, or walking through walls. It also became a tool for discovering glitches and exploring hidden game data. Yoshi had 120 stars. After collecting all 120 stars in the game, players can use the can in the courtyard to reach the castle roof. There, they will find Yoshi, who gives Mario at 100 and extra lives, and a fourth wall-breaking message congratulating the player for their accomplishment before, jumping off the building. SM64 DS is a remake. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Super Mario 64 DS is a remake of the original game. It adds new playable characters like Luigi, Yoshi, and Wario, extra stars, levels, and minigames. It also updated the graphics, but obviously the controls were criticized due to the lack of analog sticks. Impossible Goomba. In the Bowser in the Sky level of Super Mario 64, there's a strange Goomba known as the Mystery Goomba. It's tricky to see because it spawns off the main platform, quickly falls, and despawns almost instantly, making it nearly impossible to interact with it under normal gameplay conditions. The Mystery Goomba is part of a feature in the game that spawns 3 Goombas in a triangle formation, but because of where the spawner is placed in this level, only 2 Goombas end up on the platform. The third, the Mystery Goomba, appears above a death barrier, which means it falls right away and despawns because Mario can't get close enough to keep it active. To even catch a glimpse of the Goomba, players have used game hacking tools to manipulate Mario's position or to slow down the game to see it before it despawns. Despite the efforts, actually interacting with the Goomba such as defeating it to collect a coin, remains an unachievable task for players. The mystery of whether it was an oversight by the developers or a relic from an earlier level design remains part of Super Mario 64 lore, sparking curiosity and various theories in the gaming community. Parallel universes. Parallel universes are a technical glitch in Super Mario 64. Due to how the game calculates Mario's position, he can theoretically exist in distant, parallel versions of the map if he moves far enough from the main level. And by far enough, by the way, I mean like light years away from the main level geometry. Speedrunners use this glitch to perform impossible tricks, such as skipping stars or traversing vast distances instantly. The Green Stars. Super Mario 64 The Green Stars is a major ROM hack of the classic game, created by Campbell 125 and released in 2013. It introduces a fresh adventure with 130 new stars distributed across 15 main courses and 7 secret levels. This hack is designed as a sequel to the original Super Mario 64, incorporating elements and references from Super Mario Galaxy. In this expanded universe, Bowser once again captures the stars and uses them to power an army to kidnap Princess Peach. The game starts with the Toads constructing a rocket for Mario to pursue Bowser, but it gets locked, setting the stage for Mario's new challenges. The hack concludes with an ending similar to the original game, albeit with minor tweaks. The levels in the Green Stars are crafted with unique themes and challenges, ranging from Bob-omb Plains to the eerie Boo's Trembling Tower and the Scorching Desert. Each level is filled with new textures, obstacles, and secrets that diverge significantly from the original game's design, offering players a new experience in a familiar setting. Version updates have added quality of life improvements and made the hack compatible with console play, thanks to contributors like Frosty Zago and Pyro J. Each update has refined gameplay elements, like reducing the number of coins needed for star spawns and adjusting game physics to enhance playability. This ROM hack not only extends the life of the beloved Super Mario 64, but also showcases the creativity and dedication of its fan community, continuing to challenge and entertain new generation of gamers. Secret Aquarium. The Secret Aquarium is a hidden level in Super Mario 64, accessed through a window in the castle's Jolly Roger Bay area. It's a peaceful underwater stage with red coins, but no enemies or real dangers. I don't know why this entry is always on these Super Mario 64 icebergs. It's literally just a level in the game. .z64. .z64 is the file extension for ROMs of Nintendo 64 games, including Super Mario 64. It's the standard format used by emulators to play these games on modern devices. TJ Henry Joshi. Okay, so this is a pretty funny meme in the community. It's kind of forgotten by now, but basically TJ rose to online fame in January 2016 for posting a comment challenging PanencoX 2012's half A-press notation on one of his videos, which was later featured in PanencoX 2012's later video, SM64 Watch for Rolling Rocks, 0.5 A-presses commentated. One scene at the beginning of the video involved PanencoX 2012 rebuting this comment: an A-press is an A-press. You can't say it's only a half, and poking fun at the quote marks in TJ's username at the time. After the video was spread through 4chan's V-board, the video and TJ became viral memes, so yeah. Character portraits. The castle in Super Mario 64 features portraits of characters on levels, which act as portals to stages and allow you to unlock new characters. It's pretty self-explanatory. Eternal Star. People also believe that the courtyard statue said Eternal Star instead of Alice Real 2401. It sparked theories on a supposed 121st star in the game. Yeah, pretty well-known stuff. Super Marble 94. From what I found, Super Marble 94 is the first and only person in the world to beat Mario 64 without the A button, so pretty cool. Half A-press. So this entry is referring to the fact that if one holds a previous A-press and keeps holding it while playing a level, it will not incur as an additional A-press. So people call it the half A-press. It's something that Pen and Koek has made videos on. If you want to check those out after this video, they're pretty interesting. Wario apparition. The Wario apparition is one of the most iconic myths surrounding Super Mario 64. You probably already know about it, but yeah. Players claim that a distorted Wario face appears under mysterious circumstances. This supposed anomaly features a giant, disembodied Wario head appearing in the hallway beyond the 30-star door leading to Dire Docks. According to the legend, the Wario apparition notices Mario and begins to chase him down an endless hall, laughing maniacally and snapping its jaws. Its appearance is often described as distorted and terrifying, with some versions claiming it grows more grotesque as it pursues the player. The apparition is said to appear under specific circumstances controlled by the game's alleged personalization AI, which supposedly adapts the game to each player's behavior or subconscious desires. Theories about the Wario apparition range from it being a leftover, unfinished boss fight to a dynamic creation by the AI using unused Wario assets. Some fans believe the Wario apparition represents Nintendo's scrapped plans to include Wario as a villain in the game, as prototype screenshots with beta HUD elements suggest. While entirely fictional, the story plays into the uncanny valley that some players associate with the game's early 3D graphics. So, Wet Dry World. I think what this entry is referring to is that Wet Dry World is often cited as the most unsettling level in Super Mario 64 due to its dark, abstract atmosphere and the haunting, empty-looking background resembling a flooded cityscape. The water level in this stage can be adjusted by interacting with crystals, adding an eerie, mechanical feel. Fans often interpret the level as symbolic of abandonment or decay. I could go way more into Wet Dry World and the different anomalies inside of it and the things that make Wet Dry World apparently creepy, but yeah, that would just take too long. So yeah, just more Super Mario 64 creepy stuff, 1995 729. The July 29th, 1995 build of Super Mario 64, also known as the 1995 729 build, is a mysterious and early version of the game. This build is particularly notable for its inclusion in the Super Mario 64 Iceberg. Speculation suggests that this build may not have originated from Nintendo, but from an unknown Japanese organization, which might have created the initial technology that allowed Super Mario 64 to personalize the game experience. The build is rumored to have had significant issues, such as a texture bug that rapidly changed colors and could induce seizures in players. These issues reportedly led to disturbing hallucinations, adding to the build's eerie reputation. Reports from developers suggest that this version was starkly different from the final game, featuring a more desolate atmosphere and lacking the cheerful Mario character design. The castle design was also different, with smaller rooms to fit within the exterior dimensions, and a basement that featured advanced fog effect. While there's no real evidence this version existed, the date has become a staple in creepypasta stories and fan theories. So yeah, more personalization stuff. Hazy Maze Cave is a septic system. Some fans speculate that Hazy Maze Cave, with its toxic gas, damp textures, and industrial design, could represent a large underground sewage or septic system beneath Peach's castle. This theory aligns with the level's grim and claustrophobic feel, though it's just fan interpretation of the level's design. I'm sorry, I know this is stupid. There's this image. I had to see it, so you had to see it too. 150 star maximum. In Super Mario 64 DS, I'm pretty sure the star maximum is 150, so that's what this is referring to. Ending screen. After defeating Bowser in the final fight, the game ends with a screen showing Mario and Peach on a cake. However, some fans report encountering glitchy or eerie versions of this glitch, such as missing music or distorted visuals. So yeah, you get a weird ending screen with no way to leave without resetting the console. There's no music, and there's a picture in the back with a weird face or something. I don't know if that's supposed to be Joshi. Yeah. Okay. These anomalies have led to speculation about alternate or hidden endings, though most likely are just glitches. It's just people lying about getting glitches so they can, okay. Invisible walls. Invisible walls are barriers in Super Mario 64 that block the player's movement. Pretty self-explanatory. These are often used to define the boundaries of levels or prevent access to unfinished areas. These walls can sometimes appear in unexpected places, leading to frustration or curiosity about what lies beyond them. I remember talking about Blarg in my previous videos, so I'll keep this one short. Blarg is the lava-dwelling dinosaur enemy from Super Mario World. Some fans believed Blarg was planned to appear in Super Mario 64's lava levels, like Lethal Lava Land, but was ultimately cut. So yeah, Blarg never made it out of the Super Mario 64 beta stage and remained a cut character. Blarg can be hacked into the game, but he doesn't naturally appear in the game's files. In Super Mario 64, Blarg is represented with a 3D model that lacks texture, and if Blarg is forced to appear in the game, he will have a red body and gray teeth. When Blarg is forced into the game, he behaves similarly to his Super Mario World counterpart. He starts by sitting in the lava, and then he sinks and rises from it when Mario approaches. And when Mario moves towards Blarg, he will cause damage if contact is made. By the way, this video playing in the background is ancient. Like, it was uploaded 16 years ago, so I think that's pretty cool. Shindo version. The Shindo version is a Japan-exclusive re-release of Super Mario 64 that added Rumble Pack support and fixed several glitches, including the infamous backwards lung jump. While this makes certain speedrunning tricks impossible, players have developed new strategies to beat the game with as few as 1 star, even in this version. Desert Mario 64. This is a Mario 64 ROM hack based off a game called Desert Bus, which takes a minimum of 6 hours to beat, consisting of nothing but running on a straight line for the whole runtime. Even more brutal is the speed limit. Mips Clips. Mips is the rabbit found in the castle basement. Speedrunners discovered a glitch where grabbing Mips at a certain angle lets Mario clip through doors, skipping key areas of the game. This trick is a cornerstone of low-star speedrun. ROM hacks on an N64. While ROM hacks are typically played on emulators, it's possible to run them on an actual Nintendo 64 console using devices like EverDrive, which load custom game files onto physical cartridges. This allows fans to experience hacks on original hardware. Melon DS. Melon DS is a Nintendo DS emulator known for its accuracy and support for games like Super Mario 64 DS. It's often used by players to experience the DS version on modern systems, with features like save states and enhanced resolution. Firsties. Firsties are frame-perfect tricks where Mario wall kicks on the very first frame he touches a wall. This provides extra speed and height, enabling players to reach areas that would otherwise be inaccessible. It's a critical technique in advanced speedrunning. Here's a pretty cool video of someone doing 29 firsties in a row. Black bricks. Black bricks are an object which appear in Super Mario 64 DS. They are a type of block that can only be broken by Wario. Certain missions can only be completed by Wario due to a key feature, or sometimes even a power star being hidden within a black brick. I think it's funny that black bricks are literally the only reason why Wario exists in this game. BPS Patcher. A BPS Patcher is a tool used to apply modifications or patches to Super Mario 64 ROM files. This is a standard method for adding custom content like new levels or gameplay mechanics into the original game. VSC, or Vertical Speed Conversion. This is a speedrunning technique that converts Mario's vertical momentum into horizontal speed. This allows players to bypass certain challenges or reach high places without jumping. It's a niche trick, but highly effective in specific scenarios. Cloning. Cloning is a glitch where players can duplicate objects like coins or enemies by manipulating in-game mechanics. It's used in speedruns and experiments to break the game's logic or perform impossible tasks. Flying Share 48. I think this is referring to a fan-made recreation of Super Mario 64 on Roblox. It's actually pretty good, like it looks pretty accurate. Here's some gameplay. SM64 Coop DX. This is a modded version of Super Mario 64 that enables multiplayer gameplay and additional features like custom levels, mods, and visual enhancements. It allows fans to explore the world of Mario 64 together, making it a popular choice for co-op enthusiasts. Mario 64 Big Star Secret. The Mario 64 Big Star Secret refers to a lost Screamer video uploaded to YouTube in 2007 by the user LotusMan17. The video claimed to show how to unlock Luigi in Super Mario 64, a long-standing fan theory. It was a hoax video designed to trick viewers, ending with a jump scare featuring the zombie from the infamous Keffi Coffee commercial. The video was edited using basic tools like Windows Movie Maker 2. Lotus used Toad's Tool 64, a level editor for Super Mario 64, to alter the game's appearance. Modifications included a new door added next to the main lobby staircase, Mario's hat and shirt recolored blue and his overalls changed to black, and the castle's gray bricks replaced with a custom black texture made in MS Paint. To enhance the authenticity, Lotus recorded his computer screen with a flip phone, creating a low-quality, distorted look that made the video seem real. The entire guide took place inside Peach's castle, with a focus on the courtyard area. Steps included actions like kicking a boo and running around the courtyard fountain. The video builds up to a climactic step where the player is instructed to press A on this wall. As soon as the action is performed, the video abruptly cuts to the zombie jump scare from the Keffi commercial. The shocking ending led to widespread reactions, especially on forums where it was cheered to prank others. From 2007 to 2012, the video gained significant popularity, amassing over 698,316 views and sparking discussions across gaming forums. However, it also attracted backlash. Lotus disabled comments on the video due to hate messages and eventually deleted it, possibly in response to death threat. Lotus later stated he might have accidentally deleted it, though an archived Facebook description from 2011 implies the deletion was intentional. The original video is considered lost media, with no backups confirmed to exist. Efforts to locate it have only uncovered low-quality reaction videos, such as Little Brother Getting Scared, late reaction, which shows brief clips of the screamer. On May 30, 2024, new fragments of the video were discovered by users Mavel, Syndixmon, and Charmy the Shaddy Bing after contacting someone with a privated reaction video, providing a glimmer of hope for its recovery. Despite its deletion, the Big Star Secret video remains a legendary piece of Super Mario 64 related lost media. It's a prime example of early internet hoaxes, combining fan speculation like unlocking Luigi with a jump scare to prey on the curiosity of viewers. The video is still discussed in lost media communities and contributes to the mystery and mythology surrounding Super Mario 64. Luigi is actually in Super Mario 64. So you guys know how I mentioned earlier that it was the theory that Luigi was actually in the original game? Well, it's true. Luigi was actually in the game. For decades, fans speculated Luigi was hidden in the game due to cryptic messages like Ellis Rio 2401. But a 2020 Nintendo Giga leak confirmed unused assets for Luigi existed in Super Mario 64's files, proving he was intended to be in the game but was ultimately cut from the final version. Yeah, pretty cool. Ally with info. In Super Mario 64 DS, a toad on the second floor of the castle hints at finding Wario by using the power flower to pass through the mirror. The cryptic phrase, "look for anything not reflected in the mirror," and an ally with info, probably refers to locating Wario's portrait to unlock him. However, this dialogue's vagueness has sparked theories, so it could be referring to the Lucky 2 Bro. Lucky 2 Bro is seen in the mirror, and Lucky 2 is often considered the ally, though they provide no specific info in the room. Or it could be referring to power flowers, which allow Luigi to pass through the mirror, helping players unlock Wario, making them potential allies. Now remember when I said earlier that it was a good thing that the author didn't use the MIPS wiki as reference for information? Well, it's because of stuff like this. When I researched the ally with info thing, the MIPS whole wiki kept mentioning personalized experiences. Yes, good old personalization. According to it, a lesser known and highly debated theory involved an NPC called Ali, a shadowy figure reported by some players. Ali appears as a black silhouette with glowing green eyes, wearing a gray hat and trench coat. They are said to give side quests such as defeating enemies, performing tasks in specific levels, or talking to toads in a particular order. Completing Ali's tasks reportedly rewards players with extra power stars, access to an anomalous level or minigame, or even a hidden playable character. Of course, the existence of Ali is unverified and tied to personalized game rumors or fan imagination. The MIPS Wiki also suggested a toad behind the mirror, Some report finding a toad in anomalous areas like the negative world. Yeah, negative world, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, let's move on. Solar particle and TTC. This myth centers on an incident where a player, Dota Teabag, performed an upward and tick-tock clock. Some speculated it was caused by a solar particle flipping a bit in the game's memory. While this sounds scientific, most experts dismiss it as nonsense and chalk it up to glitchy mechanics. Here's the clip.
What the? What the? To get this wall?
What? Toadstool 64. So this is a program which allows you to edit Mario 64 levels. It's kind of like Super Mario Maker. If you know about that game, you probably do. Yeah, it's gonna be mentioned in this video on other entries, so keep that in mind. Key door entrance skip. One of the glitches in Super Mario 64 DS is that the castle has a small area where you can clip through to enter the basement without the key that's intended to be required to enter the castle. This glitch mirrors similar exploits in the original game, and this glitch also just proves that the DS remake is just as broken as the original, just in different ways. Don't you just love how the remake is literally more broken than the original game? Bob-omb Battlefield hangable ceiling. In Bob-omb Battlefield, there's a specific bridge near the Shane Chomp area that Mario can grab and hang from. This unusual detail has been a subject of curiosity, as such ceiling grabbing is rare in this game. 80-star minimum. I'm a little confused on what this entry is referring to. It might be referring to the fact that Super Mario 64 DS wasn't intended to be beaten with less than 80 stars, and it was supposed to be beaten with 90 stars for some reason. But there are glitches that allow players to bypass this requirement. So yeah, I could be referring to this. Some speedrun categories require at least 80 stars to complete the game, although glitches like BLJ can bypass this requirement. This minimum is more of a technical rule for specific runs rather than a hard limit. Wet Dry World Skybox is a real place. So the Wet Dry World Skybox is actually just a picture of Shibam, which is a town in Yemen. Before this discovery was made, it was believed to be the hillside town of Casares, Spain, due to the similar building layout. But now it's Shibam, so yeah, pretty cool. It looks pretty eerie too. JRB, Vanishing Fog. And the level Jolly Roger Bay, there's a noticeable change in the atmosphere after completing the level Plunder in the Sunken Ship. At the start, the level has a dark sky and a blanket of fog over the water. However, once the power star is collected from the mission, the sky becomes bright and the fog basically just disappears, even if the mission is replayed. And you have to start a new file to be able to see the fog again. So yeah. This change in Jolly Roger Bay's atmosphere is considered weird because this is the only Super Mario 64 level that has a specific change like this. It is a cool detail that adds to the intrigue of the game though. White Rabbit. I think this is referring to the fact that there are white versions of Mips in Super Mario 64 DS. Yeah, that's it. Mips, by the way, is the rabbit in the castle basement, if you forgot. Mips throwing. So I'm pretty sure this is referring to the fact that in Super Mario 64's development, Mario was originally able to throw Mips, and the developer had the intent of letting Mario throw him by the ears. However, this wasn't done due to time constraints and perhaps some internal conflicts relating to animal abuse. Of course, some players, however, swore that they were able to throw Mips, and I vividly remember doing so. Many have then tied this to the personalization AI, allowing Mips to be thrown, but no, just no. Yeah, they probably didn't add this due to how wrong it would have looked to throw a rabbit by the ears, though it is a cool fact. Fjord. I think this entry is referring to this ROM hack that is considered by many to be the worst ever. That's pretty much it. Loves Me, Loves Me Not. Loves Me is a minigame featured in Super Mario 64 DS and New Super Mario Bros. In Super Mario 64 DS, it's one of Yoshi's minigames where players pluck petals from a flower to reveal if Yoshi is loved or not, alternating between Loves Me and Loves Me Not. The game ends on the last petal plucked, with different sounds playing for each outcome. In New Super Mario Bros., this minigame appears in Versus Battle mode and is based on the game of Nim, where players can pluck 1 to 3 petals per turn. The objective is to strategize the petal pulling to end on Loves Me to gain a point, or avoid loves me not to prevent losing a point. The game can have multiple rounds and the player with the most points at the end win. This concept is simple yet pretty addictive, focusing on the classic he loves me not flower plucking game. It really did offer a fun break from the main adventure of these Mario titles, providing lighthearted gameplay. Luigi's backflip. In Super Mario 64 DS, Luigi's backflip is a signature move that allows him to jump exceptionally high. Fans speculate this move may have been intended for Luigi in the original game before his assets were cut. Case Emmanuel. This is a prolific modder and ROM hacker famous for creating ambitious Super Mario 64 mods like Super Mario 64, Last Impact, and Multiplayer Hack. His work has expanded the possibilities of the original game, earning him a massive fan base. 100 coin star with less than 100 coin. I think this refers to a rare glitch where players can collect the 100 coin star with fewer than 100 coins, usually by manipulating duplicate coins or coins generated by glitches. Mario 64 web game. I think this is referring to fan projects that recreated Super Mario 64 as a browser-based game. These games are often shut down quickly due to copyright issues, you know how Nintendo is, but it also demonstrates fans' dedication to preserving Mario 64's legacy. Cartridge tilting. Tilting the cartridge while the game is running can cause bizarre glitches such as distorted visuals, corrupted audio, or gameplay oddity. It became a popular experiment among players looking for hidden content or just having fun. Drum percent. This is a joke speedrun category that involves completing specific parts of the game while using drum inputs, inspired by players who beat games with unconventional controllers. It's just really cool stuff. Take a look at this.
Yes, it's looking to be a fast run indeed.
One wall kick. Oh, the angle's a little tough. Nice.
Fantastic.
Accidentally hit one of the rims there, so I had a wonky angle, but it worked out.
Mario 64 analog horror. This refers to a fan-made subgenre of horror videos inspired by Super Mario 64. These videos use unsettling visuals, eerie sound effects, and distorted game footage to create creepy vibes. There's been a handful of videos made on these analog horrors, so I guess check those out later after watching this video. Super Mario 64 DS without Mario. This is referring to a video made by Nathaniel Bandy, yes, Nathaniel B, about a theoretical challenge where players try to complete Super Mario 64 DS without using Mario, relying on other characters like Luigi, Yoshi, or Wario instead. There's actually been speedruns doing this no Mario shtick. It's pretty cool. Trampoline. The trampoline, also known as the springboard, is an unfinished and unused object in Super Mario 64. It features a nearly complete model and collision setup, but its functionality wasn't fully implemented, resulting in it remaining inactive within the game. Originally, the trampoline was meant to enhance Mario's jumping abilities, showing visual stretching and compressing effects as part of its interaction. Although the trampoline can be loaded into the game, it acts only as a static platform due to the absence of movement codes and proper integration with the game's existing system for dynamic interaction. The coding for the trampoline involves three parts: the top, the spring, and the base, where the base is static and the top is supposed to manage the visual and mechanical effects related to Mario's interaction. The incomplete code for the spring part of the trampoline results in it not aligning correctly under the top, and it visually stretches in a manner not intended by the developer. This error is due to incorrect numerical values and the missing code line that would correct the spring's position relative to the trampoline top. Further exploration of the game's code reveals functions related to Mario's movement that seems to be placeholders or remnants of the trampoline's intended effect, suggesting that at some stage there were plans to fully integrate the trampoline into Mario's range of interactions within the game. Restoring these codes hypothetically allows the trampoline to function as intended, demonstrating how it would have affected gameplay by enhancing Mario's jumps and interactions with this object. Hoot is the name of the owl in Whomp's Fortress that Mario can grab to glide through the air. While often overlooked, Hoot is a helpful ally for reaching tricky stars, so shout out to Hoot. Permanent squish glitch. This is a glitch where Mario remains permanently squished, appearing flat and deformed. This can occur when interacting with certain objects or enemies under specific conditions. Of course, Pan and Koek has several videos on this glitch, which is what you're seeing in the background right now. Water throwing. This refers to a glitch where objects or enemies can be thrown in water and behave strangely, sometimes interacting with the physics engine in unexpected ways. Shh. Please walk quietly in the hallway. So there's this sign in Super Mario 64 that literally reads like this. I think this entry is referring to this forum post I found. I'm just gonna read it. Why should I walk quietly in the hallway? So I was playing Super Mario 64 on an emulator and something really bugged. Is there some secret or Easter egg here? I try to keep silent by not moving, crawling, walking slowly, and also making loud noises by pounding the ground, but nothing happened. And then a forumer responded with this. There's no particular Easter egg to see here. However, the explanation to it can be found here. On the second floor of the castle, affixed to the wall adjoining the steps that lead to the door that requires 50 power stars to enter, is a plate that reads, "Shh, please walk quietly in the hallway." Possibly answered in the remake where Toad says this to Wario. Wario, it's impolite to shuffle noisily around the castle, you know? No matter how tough you look, it's, prohibited. While that doesn't explain much, maybe he was referring to the sign as justification to complain about Wario's behavior here, so it's given a sort of mysterious new reason to exist in the remake Mario 64 DS. So yeah, I think it's just referring to the "shh, please walk quietly in the hallway" like mystery. It is a pretty mysterious sign, especially in the original game, like it really doesn't make any sense being there, so yeah. Faceless Mario Anomaly. The textureless or faceless Mario Anomaly is a rare anomaly that can occur in, I guess, personalized copies or altered ROMs of Super Mario 64. It causes various graphical glitches, including like flickering HUD and screen, black objects in the map, and invisible water textures. Interacting with these objects can lead to game freezes and crashes or error screen. The anomaly has been documented in videos by SwankyBox and Greeneels Tate. Some people say it's an anti-piracy measure, so yeah, it is what it is. Got Milk commercial. This entry is referring to that in 1996, Got Milk made a commercial about Super Mario 64. There are a lot of minor errors, like the wrong music in the commercial, too many polygons for an N64, the hard bonk animation being wrong, and some people even say Mario enters Wet Dry World early, despite just being plain wrong. Either way, it's nice to look back on Got Milk, you know? Not like I was around for it anyways, but yeah. Every copy of Super Mario 64 is personalized. Okay, I'm actually gonna explain this entry this time, so yeah. The concept of a personalization AI in Super Mario 64 is a popular theory among fans who believe that the game adapts and personalizes itself to each player's style and preferences. This AI is speculated to modify the game dynamically, pulling from existing assets to enhance the player's experience or meet their expectations. The idea is that each copy of the game feels distinct to an individual, possibly explaining why some players remember different aspects or features from others. This theory extends to include anomalous phenomena and variations in gameplay, which some players report but cannot be universally verified. For instance, changes in level designs, objects, or even game behavior are often cited as manifestations of this AI working in the background. The presence of beta elements like the Wario apparition and unusual HUD designs in gameplay also fuel these beliefs, suggesting that the AI might access and integrate developmental remnants into the current game version. But all in all, this is just a concept made up by the original Super Mario 64 Iceberg creator to make the game look more mysterious and creepy. It's just fan-made stuff. Yeah. Mario Builder 64. This is basically just Mario Maker, but Mario 64. It's a pretty cool toolbox. You can play other user-made levels or create your own, like this one. That's pretty much it. unused flower animation. So there was actually an animation for a dancing flower on Super Mario 64 that went unused. Originally intended to be part of the game's environmental effects, similar to the snow in Cool Cool Mountain or the lava bubbles in Lethal Lava Land, these animated flowers were designed to appear spontaneously near Mario, enhancing the game's dynamic environment. Despite being fully designed and animated, the dancing flowers never made it to the final game. The graphic assets for the flowers are oddly included with the graphics for Lethal Lava Land, a level characterized by its harsh volcanic landscape, which contradicts the typical environment where one would expect to find these, flowers. This inclusion might have been a developer oversight or perhaps an indication of an earlier, more varied design for the level that could have included such floral animation. Interestingly, the appearance of the dancing flowers bears resemblance to the flowers found in the Yoshi's Island series, suggesting a potential cross-design influence or a shared aesthetic choice during development. Other unused elements like Blarg and an animated Yoshi egg also point towards a broader scope of creative experimentation by the developers that link to Yoshi-themed assets. These unused assets, including the dancing flowers, add a layer of depth to the lore of Super Mario 64. No BLJ. So you can't BLJ in Super Mario 64 DS. I think that's what this entry is referring to. It could also be referring to the no BLJ speedruns, but I think it's the former. The ABC Trial. The ABC Trials is a special ROM hack for Super Mario 64, created by Case and Panding Coac 2012 and released on December 7, 2019. This hack challenges players to finish the game without using the A button, which is normally used for jumping. This means players have to find new creative ways to move through the levels without jumping. The hack focuses on using your knowledge of the game and problem-solving skills to get around the usual need to jump. It's a tough challenge that tests both gaming skills and clever thinking. The game is designed with just one star to collect, emphasizing the challenge of the journey rather than collecting many stars. You can download this hack to try out a new kind of Super Mario 64 experience. It's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. I've actually watched full gameplay videos of this hack. BPS. This entry is referring to that most ROM hacks will be BPS file type, so yeah. Planned multiplayer. The planned multiplayer mode for Super Mario 64 was initially meant to include both Mario and Luigi as playable characters, allowing two players to explore the game together. This mode went through several iterations during development, but was ultimately scrapped due to the Nintendo 64's technical limitations and because it initially shipped with only one controller, making a built-in multiplayer feature less viable. In the original plans, multiplayer was similar to the standard game, but included Luigi as a second player. Technical challenges prevented the developers from integrating elaborate levels with two characters simultaneously. At one point, developers considered a simpler multiplayer mode resembling the original Mario Bros. Arcade game, focusing on cooperative play in confined spaces, rather than the open-ended levels typical of Super Mario 64. The concept was revisited in Super Mario 64 DS, where multiplayer was implemented using the DS's download play feature. This allowed multiple players to join in on smaller, competitive versions of some levels, collecting stars against a timer. The DS version included various minigames as part of its multiplayer offering, suggesting some ideas from the original multiplayer plans that might have been adapted and expanded upon for the handheld release. Also, this could also be referring to these early promotional screenshots. These early promotional materials for Super Mario 64 DS did show all four characters, Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, and Wario, active in the game, highlighting the expanded multiplayer functionality and character options that were introduced in the DS version. Wario wearing long sleeves could have been an early design choice that was later modified for the final release to maintain consistency with his traditional appearance. This concept showcases the expanded use of the wing cap in multiplayer mode in the DS adaptation. In this picture, you can see multiple characters flying around the castle simultaneously. Pretty cool. Also, there's this other scenario depicting a dynamic multiplayer interaction, not typically available in the original game. Obviously, the presence of all four characters in a boss fight like this in a promotional image would have been used to emphasize the game's multiplayer capabilities and the unique interactions possible with different characters. The simpler HUD and other interface elements could reflect early design stages where the developers were still deciding how much information to display on the screen, especially considering the DS's dual screens offered new UI possibilities. Is that really you? When you meet Joshi in the roof, the first line of his dialogue is misspelled, so... Native enemy. There's a handful of enemies that only appear in one stage, those being Skeeters, Boots, Unagi, Klepto, Moneybags, Tuxi, Shane Chomp, giant enemies, Whoosh, Yukiki, Grindel, Spindel, Bullet Bill, and non-Bowser bosses. B3313. B3313, also known as SM64 Internal Plexus, is a ROM hack of Super Mario 64 that stands out due to its extensive use of beta-based content. B3313 is notable for its large number of accessible areas and star count, making it the most extensive beta-based SM64 hack to date. The project started in late 2020 and quickly became the most downloaded hack on romhacking.com, reflecting its popularity within the gaming community. The development journey of B3313 was marked by several key releases and updates. It began with public builds in 2021, followed by major updates that incorporated feedback and new ideas, often aligning with significant dates related to Super Mario 64's history. The hack incorporates a personalization AI that adapts the game based on the player's style, which added a unique twist to the gameplay. Despite facing several delays and challenges, including a hiatus due to the developer's health issues, the hack continued to evolve. An unabandoned version was later released by former team members, which fixed many previous issues and added new content. B3313's gameplay extends the original Super Mario 64 mechanics by introducing unpredictable warp and a non-linear exploration experience that diverges significantly from the base game. Players navigate through a complex array of areas, each designed with unique challenges and enriched by an atmospheric blend of music and sound effects drawn from various sources, including unreleased beta content. This hack is very popular and has fostered a vibrant community of players, modders, and speedrunners who have explored its depth and contributed to its lore. Tuxi. The baby penguin in Cool Mountain actually has a name, this being Tuxi. So yeah, pretty cool fun fact, I think. Pause BLJ. This is a variation of the BLJ which involves pause buffering to perform more BLJs in a short time frame. Silver Stars. Silver Stars first appeared in Super Mario 64 DS and have since been featured in subsequent games like Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2. These items are collectibles that typically require the player to gather 5 of them to form a power star. In Super Mario 64 DS, these stars are spread throughout various levels and can bounce away if the player is damaged, requiring recapture. This gameplay mechanic introduces an additional challenge as players must maintain their health while containing all 5 to secure the power star. In Super Mario Galaxy and its sequel, Silver Stars maintain their role but are presented with a slight variation. They are encased in bubbles and players do not lose them upon taking damage. This adaptation simplifies the collection process compared to the DS iteration. When all 5 Silver Stars are gathered, they merge into a power star through a short cutscene, which underscores their importance in progressing through the game. Switch Stars. Like Silver Stars, Super Mario 64 DS has Switch Stars, requiring you to press a switch and go to a star that appears from the switch, appearing for a limited time. Ultra 64. Ultra 64 Mario Bros. Was the early name for what became Super Mario 64, corresponding to the original name of the Nintendo 64 console, the Nintendo Ultra 64. The game's development began with Shigeru Miyamoto's idea during his work on Star Fox for the SNES. Initially intended to be developed for the SNES under the title Super Mario FX, the project was moved to the Nintendo 64 to take advantage of its enhancing capabilities. Some development highlights from this was that it utilized an SGI Onyx emulator focused on controlling mechanics with a character called Nips, a rabbit that remained in the final game. Initially, Luigi was to be featured and a multiplayer mode was planned, but ultimately dropped in favor of fresher single-player level designs. I already talked about that. And the game was previewed at CES 1993 with a 3D Mario head animation, and at Shoshinkai 1995 with a demo of 5 levels. By E3 1996, the game was nearly complete but still finalizing some textures. Emulator cartridge tilting. Cartridge tilting is a technique used on cartridge-based gaming systems, such as the NES and Nintendo 64, to intentionally induce glitches in video games. This method involves physically manipulating the game cartridge, creating a semi-connected state that disrupts the game's normal operations, without fully disconnecting the cartridge. This disruption can lead to a variety of glitches, some of which are harmless, while others can cause significant game malfunctions or even data loss. Cartridge tilting must be done carefully to avoid disconnecting the cartridge completely or causing permanent damage to the system or game. Properly executed, it allows the cartridge to block just enough data to cause unusual game behavior without crashing the system. Some common glitches and phenomena from cartridge tilting are defloring, which this glitch results in the game character, like Mario, appearing to collapse or melt into the floor or of the game environment. It can sometimes allow access to normally inaccessible areas or trigger unintended game behaviors. A complete data wipe, this severe consequence wipes all saved data from the game cartridge. It's a rare but notable risk associated with repeated cartridge tilt. Anti-piracy screens. Initially designed to deter piracy, this screen can also appear as a response to cartridge tilting and self-patching anomalies, I guess. Okay, we're getting into the personalized stuff. In some personalized versions of games like Super Mario 64, an anomaly may occur where the game appears to patch itself, automatically fixing or removing glitches that are commonly exploited through cartridge tilting. Okay. Interestingly, similar effects can be simulated in emulators that replicate the hardware behavior of cartridge-based systems, allowing players to explore these glitches without risking physical hardware. Overall, while cartridge tilting is the method of exploring video games beyond their intended boundary, it does carry risks of damaging the game or system and should be approached with caution. Water storage. This refers to the fact that in Super Mario 64 DS, if you use a shell in a precise manner, you can actually walk underwater. Here's the video that showcases this. Pan and Coac on Wikipedia. Yeah, self-explanatory. Yeah, Pan and Coac is on Wikipedia. Pretty big achievement for the legend, I guess. It's a pretty interesting read overall, so yeah. Cool Mountain Wrong Warp. On the 1st of August 2018, a runner by the name of Atogami was running the slide star in Cool Mountain. After falling, he hits the console in frustration, and when jumping back in to try again, he ends up in Big Boo's haunt. This is a phenomenon known as a wrong warp, and yeah, this clip is legendary.
Nani? Huh? Nani これ? Nani? 俺 Nani? Huh?
Fake shadow. This is referring to literal fake shadows in Super Mario 64, like in Bob-omb Battlefield. The seesaw shadow is part of the terrain, which is apparent when he tilted to a greater degree. It's not an actual shadow, so yeah. Power Flower. Power Flowers are a special power-ups introduced in Super Mario 64 DS as a replacement for the various caps found in the original Super Mario 64. These flowers grant the player unique abilities depending on which character is being used. Mario transforms into Balloon Mario, allowing him to float for a short duration, similar to the Power Balloon from Super Mario World. Luigi turns into Vanish Luigi, making him partially immaterial and enabling him to pass through certain barriers, similar to the effects of the Vanish Cap. Wario becomes Metal Wario, who can walk underwater and withstand strong winds, akin to the properties of the Metal Cap. And Yoshi gains the ability to breathe fire, which can melt ice and harm enemies, reminiscent of Yoshi consuming red watermelons in his own game. Power Flowers are accessible after pressing the red switch in the Switch course, and they appear inside red blocks throughout the game. They are also available in the Mirror Room on the second floor of the Mushroom Castle, where Luigi is the active character. Super Mario 64 Plus. Super Mario 64 Plus is an enhanced version of the Super Mario 64 PC port, designed to improve and expand upon the original game's features. Key enhancements include more responsive controls, an improved camera system, and an extended moveset that collectively aims to streamline the gameplay experience. One significant change allows players to continue playing a level even after collecting a star, adding fluidity and reducing game interruption. Additionally, the mod includes support for 60 FPS through interpolation, enriching the visual fluidity, and it incorporates various bug fixes that address known issues from the base game. Super Mario 64 Plus also offers optional extra modes, broadening the game's replayability and challenge. It's important to note that the mod primarily consists of a launcher or a builder, which requires users to provide their own ROM file of the original game. The necessary files for the enhancements are then downloaded via the launcher, which requires an internet connection. The launcher does not include the game itself, adhering to legal standards by requiring users to supply the base game ROM. You know, it's illegal. So this is just the, Mario 64 PC port for Windows and Linux. Metal Mario Texture Origin. Recently, the original texture image used by Nintendo for Metal Mario and Super Mario 64 was found. The blue, pink, and black reflection on Metal Mario is revealed to be a scene of flowers in a yard next to a house. This texture was also used in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and Super Mario 3D All-Stars marks the texture's first reappearance as the original Super Mario 64 in the Mario series. However, unlike other textures associated with Mario, this one isn't upscaled. Yellow Switch. The yellow cap switch is an unused feature from Super Mario 64. Initially, the game only includes 3 active cap switches, the red, green, and blue, which correspond to the wing cap, metal cap, and vanish cap respectively. In the game's code, however, there is evidence of a 4th switch, the Jello cap switch. The switch was intended to activate Jello boxes that would provide the player with a Koopa shell, which is a function retained by some Jello boxes in the final game. It's theorized that originally Super Mario 64 was planned to have 4 cap switch stages. The 4th stage would likely have offered a power star through a red coin challenge involving the use of the Koopa shell. The developers might have dropped the Jello switch due to design limitations or because it offered redundant gameplay with available Koopas dropping shells. It's also speculated the switch could have been related to the game's unused personalization features, although no evidence supports this claim obviously. The Jello switch's in-game data indicates it would spawn as already pressed, aligning with its corresponding Jello blocks always being solid in the final game. Shindo 1 star. So I think this is referring to the fact that even though the Shindo version patched BLJs, it's still possible to beat it with 1 star. So yeah. Bud Sia. So this is the first and probably only person ever to 100% Mario 64 blindfolded. So absolute freaking legend. 24 years and 1 month. So what this is referring to is that the model for Luigi and even some Luigi voice lines were found 24 years and 1 month after Mario 64's initial release in Japan. The statue, rumored to hint at Luigi's existence, says 2401. Allegedly. So coincidence? Yeah, it probably is a coincidence, sorry. Pedro spots. A Pedro spot is a specific location within the 3D space of a video game, particularly in Super Mario 64, where a player can exploit a glitch that causes Mario to get stuck between a ceiling and a floor. This spot is named after Pedro Victor, who first discovered and utilized it in his gameplay. The discovery of Pedro spots has been particularly influential in challenges like the A button challenge, where, players attempt to complete levels with minimal use of the A button. The glitch associated with Pedro spots allows Mario to generate a lot of speed quickly by being in a state where the game can't decide if he's on the ground or in the air. This state enables rapid acceleration due to the conflicting inputs being processed by the game's physics engine. This can be used to overcome obstacles or reach speeds that are otherwise unachievable in normal gameplay. Pedro spots are scattered across various levels of the game, with known locations including areas in Cool Mountain and Tick-Tock Clock. These spots have been instrumental in reducing the number of A presses needed to complete certain challenges within the game, significantly impacting strategies employed by players engaged in the ABC challenge. Alright, this entry is referring to this goofy Twitter thread. The thread goes on. It's a pretty entertaining and long read. If you want to read it and analyze it yourself, go ahead. I'll maybe leave the link in the description. I really don't want to bother again, like in my last video, because the reaching on this thread is actually insane. But like, for it being such an outlandish take, it has a surprising amount of evidence. Invisible wall and tall mountain slide. On the bottom of one of the arches in the tall mountain slide, there's an invisible wall, which is a remnant from the beta where there was originally a left turn sign. So yeah. Floating midair. Yeah, apparently you can float in midair. If you walk into a ceiling column and have it move away from you, you will stay in the air for a short while. 121.54 task. Allegedly, Super Luigi Glitchy 4 made a task that beats the game in under 2 minutes, but it's spliced a billion times. Yeah, surprising. Toads are projections. So have you ever wondered why looking at a toad from far away makes them appear translucent? Well, the theory that toads in Super Mario 64 are projections rather than real characters stems from an imaginative interpretation of why the toads seem to disappear when Mario walks away from them. According to this fan theory, Bowser has used his magic to turn the toads into bricks, trapping them within the walls of Princess Peach's castle. As a result, what Mario interacts with in the game are not the actual toads, but holographic projections or apparitions created by the toads themselves. This projection mechanism is supposedly the toads' way of reaching out for help. Despite being physically transformed and embedded within the castle's structure, they can still project their images through the castle to communicate with Mario and aid him on his quest to rescue Princess Peach. The idea that the projections fade out as Mario moves away is interpreted as a limitation of their ability to project over distances, or as a symptom of the energy it requires to maintain these projections. It's a pretty cool fan theory. Purple price. Oh, I love this one. Alright, so we already talked about this on my other video, but here goes nothing. The Purple Prices hoax is a fabrication related to Super Mario 64 DS, which involves, well, Luigi, of course. Similar to the well-known hoax about Luigi in the original Super Mario 64, this hoax suggests that while Luigi was a secret unlockable character in Super Mario 64 DS. According to the hoax, players can unlock Waluigi by collecting every star in the game, which would supposedly grant access to a mysterious white door in the character selection room. The hoax was propagated through a fake article from a non-existent gaming magazine titled Purple Prices. The article detailed that upon unlocking him, Luigi would possess unique abilities such as a high spring jump and enhanced speed when using the power flower. Eventually, it was revealed by the creator of the article that Waluigi was never intended to be an SM64 DS, and that the magazine article itself was completely fictitious. This revelation confirmed that the story about Waluigi being in the game was entirely false, highlighting it as another example of fan-created rumors and hoaxes surrounding the Super Mario franchise. The second floor was rushed. Okay, so if you feel like the second floor wasn't as good as the other, it's probably because it was actually rushed in development. The development of Super Mario 64 included a phase of intensive work that led to parts of the game, especially the second floor, being rushed towards the end of its development cycle. Initially showcased at the Shoshinkai show in November 1995, the game was still in a beta version that was notably different from their final release. Although originally slated for a December release, the game underwent significant reconstruction and was delayed, with a more complete version later presented at E3 1996. As the deadline approached, the development team faced immense pressure to finalize the game, leading to certain areas not being as polished as others. This rush impacted the second floor of the castle, among other details. Some team members experienced significant burnout from the demanding development process, with a few even reconsidering their future in game development. Ultimately, Super Mario 64 was released on June 23, 1996 in Japan, followed by later releases in North America and Europe, marking a significant moment in video gaming despite the behind-the-scenes challenges. Escaping Shakya. So you know this character Shakya? You probably didn't know their name, yeah. You know they grab and like throw you around. Well, you can actually escape it. If you get grabbed by it and press certain inputs fast enough, you can escape without getting thrown. So that's a pretty cool thing that I did not know before researching this Iceberg. Omen Archive. The Omen Archive refers to a significant leak in Nintendo technical documents from an insider at Silicon Graphics Inc. in late 1999, crucially affecting the Nintendo 64 emulation development. This leak, first emerging online as oman.rar, included comprehensive technical details that were vital for the early progress of N64 emulation. The archive's contents, however, were required illegally, leading to a dilemma in the emulation community about using these documents due to potential legal repercussions. The archive contained various files, including development kits for the N64, which were detailed enough to provide a deep understanding of the N64's hardware operation. Yet this knowledge came with the burden of copyright concern. Many emulator developers chose to avoid these documents, opting instead to reverse engineer the system independently to avoid any legal issue. Despite the challenges, the leak is acknowledged for its historical importance and the insight it provided into early N64 development. The detailed documentation within the Omen archive remains a controversial yet invaluable artifact in the history of game development and emulation. There's also a whole theory about how SM64's development cursed Silicon Graphics, like the incorporation, but I already talked about that and we're not going to be getting into any goofy BS like that. Okay, it's a strictly cool Super Mario 64 fact, no cursed personalization stuff. Okay. Special for you. This is, as far as I can tell, the most popular creepypasta ROM hack for Super Mario 64. That's pretty much all there is to it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really interested in Super Mario 64 creepypasta ROM hacks. Vinny did a task slide. This is referring to a clip of Vinesauce apparently doing a task slide. It's pretty funny stuff, honestly.
Finally, all the instruments will be together. And not 3 panned hard right, 3 panned hard left.
NFR cartridges. The Super Mario 64 NFR, or not for resale cartridges, were distributed to stores for demo purposes, allowing players to try the game before buying it. These cartridges were not intended for sale and were labeled distinctly as NFR to prevent resale. The main difference between NFR cartridges and regular retail versions was primarily the labeling, although there have been reports of anomalies like unused assets appearing in these NFR versions. These anomalies are interesting because they suggest differences in content between the NFR and standard versions, although they could also be attributed to variations in how the demo versions were configured for store displays. 17 unused stages. In the early development stages of Super Mario 64, a total of 32 courses were initially planned. However, due to various constraints and decisions during the development process, only 15 of these courses made it to the final release of the game. The unused stages were likely dropped due to limitations related to time, resources, and the technical capacities of the Nintendo 64 at the time. This decision to cut down the number of levels allowed the development team to focus more on the quality and depth of the available content, and ensuring that each level was fully fleshed out and polished to meet the standards they set for this pioneering 3D platformer. Test level. So using a code, you can access this test level for the game. Obviously, we're talking about Super Mario 64 DS. The test level, known as Test Map in Super Mario 64 DS, was essentially a developer's playground used for debugging and experimenting with various game mechanics. This level featured a range of unique and standard game elements not typically accessible in the main game. Some of these elements included different types of terrain, objects like Goombas, signs, star switches, and even special items within question mark boxes. Particularly notable was the inclusion of unused cap boxes that would have been used for character transformations. Test Map was filled with a checkerboard texture reminiscent of Super Mario Sunshine, highlighting its experimental and non-finalized nature. The level layout included multiple test areas like ramps, inverted stairs, water sections, and high walls, designed to rigorously test the game's physics and character interactions. Another part of this testing environment was Test Map B, a much simpler and more focused area used primarily to observe the behavior of the Toxbox enemies outside of their usual context in shifting sandland. Unlike their typical predetermined paths, in Test Map B, Toxboxes could roam freely, providing developers a unique opportunity to test their dynamics in an unrestricted space. These test maps are vital behind-the-scene tools that allow developers to fine-tune gameplay mechanics, ensure stability, and refine the player's experience before release. Spider-Man 88 mil. As far as I know, this is just referring to the first Super Mario 64 speedrun ever caught on camera. This is the person that did that, so that's pretty cool. The footage is on YouTube. It really makes you think how far we've come in speedrunning. PUs were discovered on accident. This is pretty self-explanatory. If you watch Pan and Koek's video that included a PU, you'll find that it was actually discovered in complete accident. Koopa the Quick cheats in races, so this one really turns up nothing online. What I assume this entry is referring to is that some dialogue suggests that power stars give you actual power, and since Koopa the Quick has a power star in both races, one could say he uses the power it gives him to cheat. Pretty cool shower thought, honestly. TTC Pendulum Manipulation. This is Pan and Koek's video on how to play Super Mario 64 using a pendulum. That's literally it. I haven't seen it. Knowing it's from Pan and Koek, I assume it's a good watch, so maybe you should check that out after finishing this video. Stick breaking. This might be referring to the fact that N64 controllers have stopped production for 21 years now, and the joysticks wear down easily, which means speedrunners have to get third-party replacements, and reliable replacements are probably hard to come by, so yeah, any speedrunners in the comments can confirm here. Haunted dirt texture. So there's supposedly a dirt texture with a face in the game. You try to see it. I sort of see it, but it's probably just our mind playing tricks on us. Unless Nintendo decided to include this purposely for no reason at all. There's probably creepypastas about this dirt texture for all I know. Yeah. Fat Penguin. So after getting 120 stars in Super Mario 64, the penguin in Coco Mountain becomes out of shape, as he says, and yeah, that's what it looks like. I guess bro is just living life, good for him. This is something not many people know, so it's a really cool Easter egg to learn about. Motos. Motos were robot-like enemies that appeared in the beta version of Super Mario 64. They were similar in function to bullies and shakyas, suggesting that they might have been intended to replace these enemies in the game. Physically, Motos had spherical metal bodies, yellow arms with hands split into two great triangles, yellow legs, and gray feet. Motos were designed to attack Mario by running towards him, picking him up, and throwing him into the lava. Mario could only defeat Motos by throwing them into the lava, after which they would drop a blue coin. These enemies were found in Lethal Lava Land and potentially Bowser in the Fire Sea. They were coded to come in different sizes, similar to bullies, adding to the variety of their challenge. Despite their detailed design and behavior, Motos were ultimately not included in the final release of the game. However, due to recent leaks and the efforts of the ROM hacking community, these models and animations of Motos were uncovered, providing a glimpse into what could have been a unique enemy in Super Mario 64. Frozen Time. The time stop mechanic in Super Mario 64 is designed to halt all game elements except Mario and the interactive object when a text box is displayed or during a certain cutscene, such as when a star spawns. This mechanic ensures uninterrupted player interaction during these critical moments. In the Japanese 1.0 version of the game, a glitch exists that allows Mario to move freely while other parts of the game are frozen. This can be triggered in two ways: proximity text boxes, where text boxes appear when Mario is near certain objects, and holdable object text boxes, which involve picking up an object that triggers a text box and dropping it before the text box displays. This stops time, allowing Mario to move around freely. The glitch allows for some unique exploits, such as the infinite coins trick, where a coin can be collected multiple times without it being removed from the game if the player exits the level via a warp before the text box closes. This glitch was patched in all versions following the Japanese 1.0 release, and these later versions, time does not stop until a text box is fully visible, preventing players from moving freely during these frozen moments. However, players can still utilize a modified version of the proximity method to perform other tricks, like achieving a 0.0 time against Koopa the Quick in races. This patched behavior maintains the intended function of the time stop mechanic, ensuring game stability and preventing the exploitation of game mechanic. You are a shit. According to the creator of the Iceberg, this is referring to this video, which is a recreation of someone's dream, I guess. I'm just gonna play it. It's interesting to say the least. Shared nightmares. Oh god, I can't do it anymore. Shared nightmares in the context of Super Mario 64 refers to a phenomenon where multiple players have reported experiencing similarly unsettling dreams related to specific elements or anomalies within the game. These nightmares often involve distinct, memorable aspects of the game that have left a strong impression on players, possibly due to their eerie or uncanny nature. Here are some of the common themes reported. So, beta penguins. So, early models of the penguins seen in promotional materials, beta penguins, had an unnerving appearance that led some to report nightmares involving being chased by these creatures, often accompanied by disturbing sounds. The mad piano, so this animated attacking piano in the game, has been cited as a source of nightmares for those who found it particularly frightening, and I actually kind of understand this one. The sudden animation and aggressive nature of the piano in a generally quiet and empty room contribute to its impact. The Wario apparition, so a less documented and more enigmatic phenomena. The Wario apparition is supposedly an eerie manifestation within the game that has led to nightmares involving being chased or confronted by a menacing figure resembling Wario. We already talked about this. Yeah, I guess this can also cause nightmares. Yeah. And finally, cactus. Encounters with the cactus object have led to nightmares where the cactus aggressively rolls towards the dreamer, possibly reflecting an intrinsic fear of harm from sharp objects. I don't know. The reason behind these shared nightmares is not well understood, but it is speculated that the eerie or startling nature of these game elements resonates on a deeper psychological level with players, triggering intense nightmares and dreams. Such phenomena highlight the significant impact of game design and atmosphere on player psychology. Secret Star and Cool Cool Mountain. Using Toadstool 64, people found a couple of weird things in the Cool Cool Mountain slide, such as an unseen penguin, spindrifts, a 3-star door, and most importantly, a power star. Yeah, don't get your hopes up though, it has no collision, so yeah. SM64 2, Bowser's Revenge. The success of Mario 64 would obviously spark inspiration for a sequel, and a rumored sequel was claimed by some to be lost media, and there's a ROM hack based off this rumor. It's called SM64 2 Bowser's Revenge, so yeah. Yoshi 64 refers to an intriguing piece of video game history involving a project by Argonaut Games, known for their pioneering work with the Super FX chip used in Star Fox for the Super Nintendo. In the mid-90s, Argonaut proposed the world's first 3D platform game to Nintendo featuring Yoshi. They developed a prototype demonstrating their concept, but Nintendo ultimately rejected the proposal, hesitant to let an external company use such a significant character. Disappointed but resilient, Argonaut repurposed the Yoshi prototype into a new game, which became Croc Legend of the Gobos. Released on PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and PC, Croc adopted many of the gameplay elements initially intended for Yoshi, and it became Argonaut's most successful game in terms of sales. This decision by Nintendo not only influenced Argonaut's direction, but also the development of 3D platform games broadly. Jess San of Argonaut later suggested that their work on the Yoshi prototype influenced the development of Super Mario 64. A claim supported by Shigeru Miyamoto's acknowledgement of Argonaut's influence on Nintendo's approach to 3D platforming gaming. This episode illustrates the collaborative and competitive nature of game development during the 90s, and highlights how close we came to a very different kind of Yoshi game. Elements like the hovering mechanic from the Yoshi prototype inadvertently made their way into Croc. So yeah, Super Mario 64 was originally going to be a Yoshi game. Pretty interesting. Tetris Syndrome. Okay, so this is interesting, so I'm going to talk about it for a little while. The Tetris effect is a phenomenon where individuals who spend a substantial amount of time on an activity, such as playing the game Tetris, start to see elements of that activity in their everyday life and thought processes. This effect can manifest in various ways, such as seeing the game's shapes when closing one's eyes, dreaming about the game, or even mentally fitting items in the real world together, like grocery store items or urban landscapes. The name comes from the game Tetris, where players manipulate falling blocks to create and clear complete lines, You know Tetris. Prolonged exposure to such games can alter one's perception and experiences, sometimes causing people to subconsciously apply game strategies to real-world situations. This effect is due to the brain's plasticity, its ability to adapt and reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. Playing Tetris extensively can train the brain to recognize patterns and optimize spatial management, which can bleed over into non-gaming tasks. This phenomenon isn't just limited to visual experiences, it also extends to cognitive functions. For instance, after extended periods of gameplay, Tetris players might find themselves involuntarily thinking about fitting various real-world objects together efficiently. The brain, having been so engaged in this task during this gameplay, continues to fire in similar patterns even when the game is no longer being played. Research has shown that engaging with Tetris can increase cortical thickness and enhance cognitive functions like spatial recognition and processing speed. This is a reflection of the brain's adaptability and its ability to enhance certain mental faculties in response to specific and repeated stimuli. Moreover, the Tetris effect has been considered for its therapeutic potentials, such as in treatments for PTSD, where distracting the brain with Tetris post-trauma might help reduce flashbacks. And why is this on the iceberg, you may ask? Well, maybe the creator is trying to apply this to Super Mario 64, and it's trying to tell us to take a break and stop playing Super Mario 64 so much, I guess. I don't know. Mario 64 is a lie. So this is referring to this tweet by aforementioned Case and Manwar, saying that Mario 64 could have and should have been run on 32 bits, and it should have run not just fine, but better. However, this idea is a common misconception. The Nintendo 64's 64-bit CPU allowed for enhanced graphics and more complex computations, which was a significant leap over the previous generation 32-bit systems. Even though Super Mario 64 might not have utilized the full potential of 64-bit processing continuously throughout the game, the 64-bit architecture was crucial for rendering the game's pioneering 3D graphics and handling complex calculations for physics and AI more effectively. While some operations could technically have been done on 32-bit registers, using 64-bit registers helped in handling multiple operations simultaneously, improving performance and future-proofing the system. As game developers gained more experience with the hardware over the console's life cycle, they optimized their use of the architecture, which could explain why certain 64-bit operations were removed or altered in later releases. So yeah, pretty interesting though. Collecting the Impossible Coin. You may know about the Impossible Coin in THI, but Pen and Coac 2012 actually managed to collect it, which is pretty cool. You should watch this video on it. E.T. One of the shifting Sandland textures in the American release has E.T. written on it. Again, something that is not well known at all. I have not seen this fact on like any other Super Mario 64 icebergs, at least I don't remember, so I guess you learn something new every day. Vanishing Penguin. In rare cases, the racing penguin can fall off the track, which is pretty funny. This is of course incredibly rare, and yeah, it's just pretty funny. Unopenable door opened. This is referring to a recent Pan and Coac video on the unopenable door in Cool Mountain. The cabin door that was thought to be impossible to open. However, fortunately nothing's impossible and Pan and Coac did it. Ramp and courtyard. In one of the edges of the courtyard's fountain, the collision triangles are supposed to be walls, but they're tilted just enough that they get considered floors instead, so you can slide on them. Yeah. Underneath the starting cloud and rainbow ride, there's actually a hangable ceiling, although there's no feasible way to hang on it, so yeah, still pretty cool though. The castle plexus. The term castle plexus seems to refer to a concept in which the internal layout of the castle is far more complex and expansive than what the external dimensions would logically allow. The inside of Peach's castle contains many more rooms and much more space than what the exterior would seemingly accommodate, and especially considering that endless staircase, so yeah. Black Room of Death. The Black Room of Death in video games, specifically in Super Mario 64, refers to spaces behind loading zone doors that serve as transitional areas meant to maintain the illusion of continuity between different parts of the game's world. Normally, these rooms are invisible to players and only serve as backstage areas that are part of the game's level loading mechanisms. They are typically accessed when players move from one loaded area to another. In Super Mario 64, players can glitch their way into these rooms by manipulating the game's physics or exploiting bugs, such as clipping through surfaces or using hyperspeed tricks. While they're called Black Room of Death, these rooms don't necessarily cause death or harm to the character. However, some of these rooms might not have tangible floors or may be inescapable under normal circumstances, which can lead to gameplay interruptions or the need to restart. Each Black Room of Death typically has two sides, corresponding to the two connected areas they link. Entering these rooms from the wrong side can transport Mario to the black room associated with the adjacent loading zone, which might confuse inexperienced players or appear to be a game-breaking situation. In some cases, it's possible to escape these rooms by jumping against the walls surrounding the doorways, while others might require more complex maneuvers or cannot be escaped without specific glitches. This Iceberg video is a cover-up. Okay, this tier is confusing. I have no idea what this is referring to. You know that thing Mish Koss did in his original Super Mario 64 video where he put the health bar depending on how much knowledge he had on the entry? Well, my health bar for this entry would be 1 HP. I'm literally on 1 HP. This is, I don't know, the Iceberg chart entry had links to this Reddit post about someone asking for the 1995 build. And there's certainly some weird comments on this post, but this just seems like an inside joke or something. I feel like this is just a joke entry. Okay, let me try to make sense of this entry though. I guess an Iceberg could reference like well-known glitches, obscure game mechanics, beta versions of the game, or even wild fan theories about the game's content like we did in this video. Saying this Iceberg is a cover-up in this context could imply that there are deeper or more disturbing secrets or truths about the game that are being intentionally obscured or hidden by those with insider knowledge, such as the creator of the Iceberg, or such as me. I'm just gonna shuck this off as a joke entry though. Joshi commits Sudoku. I don't know if Sudoku is supposed to be a play on words on seppuku, a form of Japanese ritual suicide. In the case of Super Mario 64, after Mario collects 120 stars and meets Joshi on the roof of the castle, Joshi gives Mario 100 lives and an improved triple jump ability before jumping off the roof and disappearing. This is scripted as part of the game's reward mechanisms for completing a significant achievement. Joshi's disappearance is often humorously exaggerated by players as him committing suicide, which sorry to be that guy, but Joshi simply exits the scene in a manner that's meant to be surprising or humorous, not actually grim. But yeah, another weird entry, I guess. One-ups are dead Marios. So this entry is referring to this. Yeah. This 1996 Super Mario 64 manga suggests that one-up mushrooms grow from the bodies of dead Marios, perpetuating the cycle of life and death. And some suggest that the fact that one-ups can move around implies that the corpses are reanimated after death. That's pretty much it. The top comment on this Reddit post with the image was, "One-ups are green. The real conspiracy is it was dead Luigi's all along. There's nothing behind the castle." This is simply referring to this Mario 64 creepy ROM hack. A little disappointing, but this is probably one of the greatest Super Mario 64 ROM hacks ever made. It's pretty well done. If you want to check it out, go ahead. 120 is symbolic. This is referring to the symbolic interpretation of the number 120 in the context of Super Mario 64. In numerology, the number 120 is seen as a sign of new beginnings and transitions. In the game, once a player collects all 120 stars and meets Joshi on the roof of the castle, there isn't much left to do, symbolizing a completion or an end. This act can lead players to potentially delete their save file to start anew, reflecting the concept of new beginnings associated with the number 120 in numerology and spiritual beliefs. I guess this interpretation ties to completion of the game's challenges to a larger, metaphorical cycle of ending and renewal, much like the life cycles and transformative processes discussed in spiritual and numerological context. 6, the rarest possible death. Okay, so this is it. This is the last entry. So this entry is referring to this video, which showcases that if you get into this column, which is out of bounds, you die on the spot. And what allows this to happen is a spot in Snowman's Land, even though it's only about a 1 in a gazillion chance of, like, you know, it happening. So it's pretty cool stuff. Just take a look at this.
And of course I do. Please! Please! For the love of fucking God! What the hell? Are you
And that was the tremendous Super Mario 64 DS Iceberg. If you somewhat enjoyed my multiple hours and days of work for this video, then I would appreciate literally anything, likes, comments, subscriptions especially. Apart from that, there's nothing much more that needs to be said. I enjoy making this video, I want to make more like this, and I hopefully will. Leave any suggestions for any future big icebergs in the comments, and I will definitely check them out. Believe it or not, I read every comment. Anyways, thank you for watching, for sticking around this whole time, and see you in the next video.